Last week I came down to the coast at Guadalmar del Segura and I really battled with windy conditions. This week I've come down to the coast again and I think it might be a bit windy again, although hopefully not as bad as last time. I'm heading down to the coastal area and then we'll see what we can do down by the sea. I hope you'll enjoy the video. If you do and you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe before you go. Okay, it is pretty windy out here once you get out of the shelter. I don't think it's quite as windy as last week. Over that side there is the wall that I was standing on in last week's video, the one where I got soaked. And I'm on this one over here, which is a separate, smaller wall. And I am thinking that there might be a possibility of a shot to be done here. I'm wondering if I can get away with a long exposure or a longer exposure. So we might have a play with that. What I might do, if it's not too bad, is try a technique where I do one shot as a short exposure and one as a long exposure. And that way, if any of the fine detail that I need to be sharp doesn't come out sharp in the image, in the long exposure image, I can try blending in the short exposure to get around that. So I think what we'll do is try and get set up a composition looking along here and out. One of the things I would perhaps normally do when it's windy for longer exposures is get the tripod low down, but for the composition I need the tripod higher up, otherwise all we're going to have is a load of concrete in the foreground. Okay, so I've got a composition set up, concentrating on this breakwater leading into the sea, and that then curves around to the right, and then the end of the other breakwater with the other little light tower comes in from that side. Not too much sky, although the sky looks blue, it's actually quite hazy, but hopefully it'll still look okay. But I'm only having maybe a quarter of the frame sky. I'm going to do a fast exposure shot, about 200th of a second, and then I'm going to pop some filters on and see what I can do as a long exposure, just to smooth all the water out and maybe create a bit more of a fine art style. Pop on a 10 stop. Now let me get about 5 seconds. If I pop a 3 stop on as well, it should let me get about 40 seconds. And because the wind is coming straight from the sea, I can't even stand in the wind to try and protect the camera. So I'm just hoping it's going to work. I think what I might do now is try a vertical composition to isolate just this one breakwater and do the same thing again. I'll pop the filters off. Switch over to vertical. I'm going to do a short exposure. So I need to just angle that down a bit more, I think. pop my filters on and try a long exposure. Come a fair bit further out. I want to try to do some shots kind of focusing more on the end, faster exposures to get the waves breaking. I think I want a longer lens. I've put the 55 to 200 on. Probably about 90 mil, something like that. And what I've got is the right hand edge of the breakwater with all the rocks coming in on the bottom right of the scene, curves around a bit. There's the green tower over on the left hand side, kind of on the thirds, and then there's some rocks and that going out, and hopefully we'll get some waves breaking around them. 1/400th of a second should be fast enough, and I will shoot this with the high speed continuous mode to try and capture, you know, some nice waves. Mostly what I'm trying to do now is predict when the waves are going to hit to try and get some nice shots of them. The only thing I'm not sure about is the composition with the tower, because it's kind of 1/3 above the horizon. But if I go lower down, I don't think it works, but I might try. Now, although my exposure time is 1/400th of a second, so easily fast enough for hand holding, the reason I'm using the tripod is so that I can keep my composition exactly the same, so that if I want to blend 2 or 3 images with some nice waves in the background, some nice waves in the midground, just to get the best effect, I can do that, and I probably will. Just trying to catch a gull flying across the scene then, but I don't know if I got it. It might have just coincided with a wave breaking as well, which would be nice, but I doubt it. I think I can feel something really simple coming on here. Just a shot with wet sand, waves coming in. There's some nice colour out in the background and a bit of blue sky up there. Probably vertical. And maybe just trying to catch the waves at the right moment. Very simple, wet sand, waves, little bit of sky. See what we can do. I'm going to pop on a 6-stop ND filter because I'm going to want a slightly longer exposure, but not too long. Sometimes when you see a set coming in, that's when it's going to happen. I don't want to get further out because some of the waves come further up. This looks promising. That's it, come on, come on. They were coming further up earlier. That's better. Well, it does seem that today's video is all about movement and different ways of capturing it. Didn't really have that in mind when I came out, but if it works, that's great. So I've done some short exposures, some long exposures, some kind of in the middle. What I'm thinking of doing now is actually just concentrate on the movement of the waves a bit further out. So I'm going to go over to a long focal length, put the 55 to 200 on, probably a fast exposure and handheld, and just see what kind of images I can get, just concentrating purely on the movement of the water and the waves. Some stuff I've done before, but I haven't done it for quite a long time, so it's nice to get my hand back in again. Right, let's change lenses. Okay, back on the 55 to 200, almost certainly all the way in. I'm going to turn my image stabilization on, put my aperture on f11, put my ISO on probably 400 because I want really fast exposure, and it's the waves breaking further out that I want to try to get. I'm actually including a bit of the landscape in the background in there, just to add a kind of a sense of place to it. Trying to keep a little bit lower, it does exaggerate the height of the waves a little bit. Having a look because there's a couple of guys going in on canoes, so I might just try and get a couple of shots of them. Not canoes, they're surfboards. It's getting windier now. I think I'm going to wait a few minutes, just see if these guys actually do any surfing that I can catch maybe a couple of shots of, and then I think it's probably going to be time to think about packing up and heading for home. They are forecasting some storms coming in tonight, maybe not so much rain, but we might get a load of like the Saharan sand coming in, which is always unpleasant. but they are forecasting strong winds tonight. Might be nice to get home before that happens. Yeah, okay, the wind got a little bit crazy down there again. Actually blew the video camera over. Wasn't sure if it had broken it, to be honest. Fortunately, the sand is a soft landing, if a rather messy one. I've decided to pack up and head for home now, but hopefully I've got a few images all in some way, shape or form related to movement, which is what this video's kind of ended up being about. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've had a bit of a fun afternoon, so thank you very much for watching, and until next week, bye.